I'm going to talk a little bit about sure that you know who made Poly, but I'll explain that, and then I'll explain what we're doing to do what Daniel just said, which is help service providers scale to the millions of endpoints that they're deploying and managing every day, and also what we can do to help enterprises that are in the process of ripping out their proprietary phone systems that they've had for 20, 30, 40, maybe even longer years, and replacing it with something that's most likely open source or a combination of maybe some of the legacy infrastructure and open source components, maybe in a contact center or something like that. So I work at Poly. Poly is the acquisition of Polycom by Plantronics, and Plantronics then renamed the company Poly. So Plantronics, many of you know, is primarily a headset company founded back in the early 60s, and one of their first customers was NASA. So fun fact is that the headsets worn by the astronauts that landed on the moon were Plantronics headsets. And if you come visit us in Santa Cruz, there's a really nice exhibit in the Executive Briefing Center that kind of takes you through that whole legacy. But it's really interesting for me, coming from the telephone side and the analog telephone adapter side, to see what kind of technology went into developing headsets from those days in the 60s that helped take men to the moon to today, which is help put Dr. Dre in your ear at the same time you can talk on the phone, right? So there's and some of the things around Bluetooth, wideband audio, echo cancellation, things that as humans will never get away from. Challenges that we had with desktop phones, and I think that the coming together of the two companies really makes a lot of sense. The other thing I think for this group in particular that makes a lot of sense is that we are not religious about a particular call control platform. We don't sell a call control platform. We have to, in order for us to pay our bills, we have to make our devices work with many different platforms. And so that's one of the things that I think is a great position to be in today, given that we are in this environment that's so dynamically, it's so dynamic, so changing so fast, and then for us to be able to develop a business around endpoints, both headsets, IP phones, even now video systems that can work with a multitude of platforms is pretty exciting. And the thing that we're focused on, or that my team is focused on, is taking this stuff to the next level, is to really making it so that the services that are provided from these type of open source platforms can easily scale from an endpoint point of view into the millions and millions of devices. So just to kind of give you one more view of where, from a voice endpoint point of view, we are today with this company. Polycom acquired a company called Circa Communications in Vancouver back at the end of the 90s. And this was really the basis for the Polycom handsets that you're familiar with today. And then where the other part of the team is, and this is all revolves around people, right? This is where the people today that are working on you're going to see more Poly branded endpoints come out. This is really all about people. So there are people in Vancouver that came from that Circa acquisition that are still working on the Polycom, now soon Poly endpoints today. And that's really important because, I mean, the company is ultimately the people that are working on the projects, and that's what makes great products are people that are focused and dedicated to customers using them. So on the other side is the OBHI was acquired by Polycom back at the beginning of 2018. And that, if you take the legacy of OBHI, that goes all the way back again to the late 90s to a company called Komodo Technologies. And I actually have one of the first Komodo products out on the desk or out on the table outside. So come by, I'll be standing out there from time to time when we have breaks. And I've got a little museum of endpoints out there that'll be fun to take you through. We've got Komodo, then there was Sapura. Sapura was acquired by Cisco and put into Linksys, if you're familiar with the Linksys devices. That was really out of the Sapura acquisition. And then another company was started, and these are all in Silicon Valley, called OBHI. And OBHI was then acquired by Polycom, like I said, in 2018. And then Plantronics bought Polycom and then renamed to Poly just a few months ago. So to me, the key to taking the next kind of step in the evolution of packet communications, of IP communications, is being able to scale these networks into the millions of units. We're used to working with companies or buying services from companies, primarily today in the mobile space, that do have millions, if not tens of millions. Several have hundreds of millions of devices that are connected to their network going back years. And so a lot of R&D has gone into just being able to manage this many devices on a network. You can imagine if you have to do a firmware update to a mobile phone to 10 million or 20 million or 30 million mobile phones, what does it take to manage that? And there's several very large companies that have developed just out of providing these types of services to the large mobile carriers. The one that comes to mind for me is a company called Amdocs. They're like the guys behind the guys, right? But without them, a lot of the mobile carriers would have a very difficult time keeping their services turned on. So this is if you just to kind of put things in perspective, this is kind of where I'm coming from in terms of taking the software that we support on these endpoints and designing it in such a way that we can develop a management framework that does scale into the millions. And it's really taking advantage of things like REST APIs, like cloud networking, so that this can be done both at scale as well as very affordably. So the product that we have currently at Poly is called PDMS-SP. So that stands for Polycom Device Management Service for Service Providers. And really what this is it's a lot of different elements of provisioning and management rolled into one. One is zero-touch bootstrapping. It can also do provisioning, or it can redirect the devices to another provisioning platform. Tools that you use every day, but now you can do that. You can access a device that's thousands of miles away from you remotely to do things like get a PCAP, or capture logs, or look at the live status of the device in a call, out of a call, things that might normally take hours, days, even weeks to accomplish by having the device connected to a cloud outside of the SIP connection, kind of what I call the in-band SIP connection, gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of power, and then as you scale that, it really helps you run the service. The other thing is just trying to get metrics and usage data from the devices. That's important as well. And again, all around an API. So this is what a typical deployment looks like, kind of within the realm of an in-band management. You're doing most everything through SIP. Sure, if you're a facilities or if you are the ISP, you can probably figure out a way to do a syslog or to do a PCAP, because if you're providing the IP address to that phone, you can probably do that. But these days, it's not that easy, given how networks are managed. You've got the data guys, you've got the phone guys. Sometimes it's tough to get them together to get to the IP address of that phone, or you're over the top, in which case it's pretty much impossible. So you don't have that ability. All you have really at your disposal are things like SIP notify, which is useful, but what if you can take that one step further? So this is where PDMS-SP came from, which was formerly the OBTXML device management platform. And so PDMS-SP, it does provide that out-of-band interface to devices so that you can manage them, and it lets you manage them either through a web portal or an API. And so for this group here at Kamailio World, I really want you guys to experience this. So at some point in the conference, please give me your card, or let me give you my card, and you can take my information, and I'll send everybody here a free phone and get you signed up with a PDMS-SP account so that you can experience this. And if you need any help, I can also provide you with the interface via an email alias to start to get feedback here. So the idea is to, let you understand what we're doing here. So I think the best way to do it is just to get you a phone and get you an account on PDMS-SP. So remember, sometime during the conference here, either let me have your card, or I'll give you my card, or I'll give you my email address, and we can exchange information, and we'll get that to you. So quite a few things today are supported on PDMS-SP. As I mentioned, this came from OB High Technology a little bit over a year ago, and we've been busy. We've been busy in the past year. So obviously the OB High devices can connect to PDMS-SP, but in this past year, we've made it so that the legacy Polycom VVX devices running the UCS software, they can also connect to PDMS-SP. We're also just about set to launch the conference phone, the Trio conference phones. Those can be connected via PDMS-SP. And like I said, of course, we have the OB High devices. So the API, it's very simple to get started. You basically log into your PDMS-SP account. So let me go to that here. So I've got an account here. Typically, when you log into PDMS-SP, oh, I just lost my internet. That's not good. Let me do that. Okay, we're good now. Okay, so you log into PDMS-SP, and then it's not the prettiest of UIs. We're going to try to make it better and more attractive. Actually, more useful is the more important thing. So this will be evolving over time. But right now, this is where you would log in and see things. To get access to the API, you would go to your manage permissions, and then here you create an API key. And so then you'll create an API key here, and then let me copy that down. I think it is AUI. So I think it's this one here is the newest one. Is that right? Yeah. And then let me put it in my little cheat sheet here. And then let me get the secret here. Okay, and then once you've got the API, then you can go ahead and log into the portal for the APIs. Let me go ahead and authorize this. So we'll get the API client ID, which I think I just put in there. Oopsie, I guess I've got to log in again. Did I lose my website? No internet. Looked okay before. All right, we're having some network problems here. Let's try to connect again. Okay. That's better. Go to View APIs. Go to REST APIs. Let's authorize ourselves. Put in this. Put in the secret. Or actually, was that the secret I put in? That was a secret. Okay, let's start over then. Copy. Oops, where'd that authorize go? Let's get the secret. Okay, let's authorize. Okay, why did it fail?
You copied the wrong secret.
Did I?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Okay, let's see. Oh, I did this one. You're right. Thank you. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then we can go to the APIs here, and so then we've got a variety of APIs. We're simplifying some of this because there's a lot of repetitive things here. But here, like I can go to the devices. Let's see. I can get device quick values of the device. So I go to the origin. Let me get the device ID, the origin ID. And then, or actually, let me get the device parameters. I think I can do this here. Paste. And I think, okay, then I can get the device statistics. So here I can see the various services. The quick values are what firmware the device is running, how the services are registered on are running on the device. So for instance, here this registration is failing with a 404. Now what I could do at this point is I could go back to that device that's here in the dashboard, and I could come to it, and let's say I could I want to know a little bit more about why it's failing, so I might come and do a syslog. So I could capture a syslog from that device right now and start that capturing the syslog here, and then analyze it from there. So other things with that you can do with the API as well is you could do, for instance, a reboot. So I can go ahead and put in the org ID and the device, and then I can go ahead and send a reboot command to that phone. I didn't have time to bring it in, but the phone out on the desk just rebooted, trust me. So this is just a sampling of what we're coming out with the API and the management tools available with the phones. Again, this is really the early days of this, but we do have several customers that have well over 100,000 endpoints that are using this today to manage them, and we're trying to design this so that it does scale up to the millions of endpoints, which I think that we're well on our way of doing that. And so that's one of the key things that's available there. Another nice thing that you can do with this type of information is do geolocation, and you can even use your database for address information of where the customer is, as well as status from the device, to provide some tools for troubleshooting or network monitoring, so that you can come in to see where the devices are. This happens to be, this particular map is of customers that we support as part of our consumer application that we have on obtalk.com, where consumers go to amazon.com and they buy a voice over IP endpoint, either an ATA or an IP phone, and they use a consumer version of our cloud of obtalk.com to configure a SIP credential, or in some cases a Google Voice credential, and then we're able to support the customers to be able to, in their use of our endpoints with that service. This, to me, being in this industry for so long, is something that's quite groundbreaking, in that we have a vendor that really started out as a very small startup that was able to sell a lot of devices to consumers, primarily because Google was giving away free phone numbers and free calling to the US and Canada, but with no service, right? No customer service. And then we saw an opportunity that, well, hey, we can get our devices to connect to that service, but the customers are only going to be successful if they can get support. It's the wrath of the one-star review is what gets you. Nothing worse than shipping a product and the customers start giving you a bad review, right? So the only way you're going to keep good reviews, especially with consumers, nobody knows how a telephone call works. It's just magic, right? Well, it's people like us and the people that we work with that makes that magic happen. And when people have a problem, they need to be able to get it fixed. So this kind of over-the-top SIP, bring your own device market, really, it can only, in my opinion, can only work if you have something like this. And then this can be extended directly out to service providers that are providing typically more of a business-based service where support is even more important. But again, it used to be, I remember back when Vonage first started, I remember hearing that they used to hire one customer service agent for every 10,000 subscribers. So you can imagine, you think that's a lot of subscribers per agent. Well, not really, because if you end up having several million subscribers, your customer service operation it's huge. It's hugely expensive. It's a huge number of people, and we've got probably almost 500,000 people using our BYOD consumer service, and I don't even need one hand to count the number of customer service people that we have for that. And that's really because of using this type of technology that we've made available to all of you. So again, contact me. I'll get you a free phone. I'll get you a free account, or the account's free anyway, to check some of this stuff out. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about in the course of this presentation, which, am I out of time? 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to keep I don't want the boat to leave without us. Is the devices themselves are quite friendly for development. Don't you hate it that you spend all this money on these desktop IP phones or these decked phones with these nice color displays, and you can't do anything with it? You have to do what the manufacturer, you basically have to use the GUI, you have to use the UI that the manufacturer gives you, and you would have to beg and plead for them to change something on that UI. Well, at OBHI, that was one of the tenets of the engineering team, which was to make everything programmable. Like I like to say, every pixel on the display, every button label is programmable. So you don't really even have to use, of course there are some bounds around what exactly you can do, but you don't have to use our icons, you don't have to use our text, you don't have to use our colors that come default with the device. You can program all of that stuff. And you can also then get information to and from the device, again, outside of the SIP channel. And that can be useful for a lot of things that you're trying to do to differentiate your service or to sell another service along with your service. So some of that is help with calendaring. How do you synchronize a calendar that you want to show on a desktop phone, that you're already showing in an app, that you're already showing on something running in a browser? We've got the hooks to be able to do that. Other thing is being able to work with other applications that have other UIs that can leverage that phone UI. So that's for things, say, gamification for, say, salespeople in a call center, so that they understand how well they're doing, helps them push themselves to do better in terms of what they need to do, or shows them what they're doing, the job that they're doing, or shows their supervisors what the job that they're doing. For instance, one of the things that we're working on now is we're able to provide the raw PCM from the phone to a cloud service whose job is to do things like sentiment analysis. And this is a interface that will be provided with all of our products, but for call centers that are implementing some type of AI to understand how well the agents are doing, or understand how well the customers are responding to the agents, this sentiment analysis is a big thing now. Are they happy? Are they confused? Are they upset? And by providing the raw PCM to that cloud service, that gives that application the best chance for success. Sure, you can grab that G711 at almost anywhere within the realm of the the SIP call or the voice call. But again, it's not going to be as accurate and potentially not the best way to do that sentiment analysis. So that's just one example of what we're doing. With the phone XML APIs, we've got a push and pull approach. The XML APIs can be used for text. They can be used for showing icons, updating status, and then the webhook will tell you whether the phone is ringing, its connected state, the call ended state. So there's a lot of things that you can do there as well. And then we've got that all rolled around into the API. So for instance, the pull model is that you've got a server running an XML application. You have the phone that has a button configured as an action URL. When the user presses that button, it invokes this HTTP GET, which provides a response back to the phone. So for instance, let's say that you have a call recording application. So when the call comes up, you want the agent wants to record that call. They press the call record button, which then invokes that application that lets you start and stop the recording, for example. Then we also have push model, where you would use the SIP notify. So you've got that application running. You use the SIP notify to send the XML in the body of a message to the phone, and then that's what allows you to do that same type of application. So there's several things that we support today in XML. The other examples are being able to input information into the phone, being able to, like the recording, doing things like entering text. We've got a company that has a pizza chains that actually does not want their employees to have a smartphone on them. They also don't want to give them a computer that's connected to the internet, but they want to be able to text message back and forth just using the phone that's at the counter. And so they plug a keyboard into the phone for that. So we did that for them, but there's probably some other interesting things you can do. Being able to provide image files like emergency alert system, like campus safety and security is a big thing now at schools, and then we're involved with several companies that are in the process of doing that. So this all runs in addition to the SIP service on there. And then, so then there's other things that you can do to be able to update the background screen of the phone, and then using that notify. So again, webhooks for that, and then things like a customer lookup. Customer places a call. The phone initiates a webhook telling the application that this is the call that's in process right now. Then a CRM application could send back information to that agent, telling them a little bit about what's in the record for that customer, what's important, are they a VIP customer, how to do that, how to treat them. And so for this, we've got a lot of information that can be sent from the phone to this kind of out-of-band interface. So again, I'm gonna, this is a good place to finish. And so come say hi, and I'll get you set up to get a phone and get access to this tool so you can check it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherman. Okay, so 1-2 questions before we start with, we have one here, chat.
Yeah, these look like they're all OB devices. Do you guys have plans to support the entire Polycom set? And then also a bunch of other vendors also use XML, and Cisco is very much the same. Are you going to support other vendors?
So we're not going to support other vendors right now. Maybe for some of the basic management things, we're talking about supporting other vendors. Also through this API, we are supporting third parties who are developing their own phone management solutions that are really built for a multi-vendor environment. So there's several companies that we're working with whose reason for being is multi-vendor phone management, and we're happy to work with them too and give them access to this API on behalf of their customer so that the Polycom phones can be managed a little bit better than our competitors. But we're not at all averse to working with others that manage phones, and we'll give them access to this API. On the Poly phones, yeah, this is kind of where these challenges of integrating engineering teams, integrating code streams, what products do you put it on. We're at the very beginning of this, but for the management piece, doing all the troubleshooting and provisioning, that works on legacy Polycom as long as it's a Gen 1 or Gen 2 VVX. Now we're in the Gen 3 VVX, which you can run either the Polycom legacy software, the UCS software, or you can run the OB Edition software. And so the OB Editions, and so that's kind of cool, although it can be confusing to have kind of two hardwares that run, or the same hardware runs two different kind of personalities, so to speak. But that's kind of part of the strategy of getting this all to work together. So you can get a phone that supports the UCS or get a phone that supports OB. You can go back and forth. The firmware there's no charge or no license to go back and forth. But then some of this functionality that I talked about now, the XML, the phone XML programmability, the API work right now is on the OB devices. And then we are slowly but surely pushing this into the UCS, the UCS world.
Okay, so quick one from Cliff here, and then Sherman is out there with the table. So
last question. We do a lot of development with phones like that, and people request us to put everything on the screen. So some vendors don't allow you to take things off the screen. I'd want to take everything off the screen you have and either drop an Android app on there and control the screen, or through your programming. Can we put anything on the screen and control it completely? Yeah,
so these phones run embedded Linux. We have some phones coming out in several months that run Android where we will provide the ability to sideload an APK. Using this management framework, you can sideload the APK, and then it's your interface. But for this is where we try to make, through XML scripting, we try to make every button, every pixel programmable. So as best you can could make it look like the Android app. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sherman. Really interesting.
Thanks.